Welcome, parents and guardians, to Baldy Middle School Back to School Night Video on Demand Edition. My name is Dr. Ramey, and if you've clicked on this video, it's because I have the pleasure of teaching your student in 8th grade science. I would love to be able to see you in person, but I hope, given the situation, you are nonetheless excited to see me in this video presentation. So who am I? The first thing to note with that Georgia logo is that I'm not a native of Philadelphia, though I actually have moved to Philadelphia in my adult life 3 different times, and weirdly from 3 different states, Georgia, Florida, and the most recent time I moved here from Kansas. The first time I moved to Philadelphia, it was to attend Temple University. So I got my PhD in psychology, specifically studying the mind and the brain, so the cognitive and brain sciences. After that, I had a nice career. For over 10 years, I was a college professor, teaching thousands of students. But when I eventually, with my wife, had a faculty position at the University of Kansas, we started a family. And one of the exciting things for me that changed my life was being a father. And being a father really changed my outlook on education. And I decided to go back to school, even though I already had a doctorate. I went back to school. We moved to Philadelphia, and I went to Temple again, but this time to obtain a master's in education. So having 2 young daughters at home just really affected me, and I wanted to make a difference in young children's lives. And so it wasn't going to be done at the university level, I felt. I really needed to be in the schools. So that very last logo is TTR. It's the Temple Teacher Residency Program. So for an entire year, I was in the classroom, sort of learning the ropes from being a college professor to being a middle school teacher. So learning the ropes about how to teach math and how to teach science. So this is my first year here at Baldy, but I've been in the school district and was here before everything shut down and became virtual. So it was really fun to get to know this different age range of students. Okay, so what are we going to do today? Today is about understanding what science is like virtually and the kinds of things that we cover. What's it like day to day for your students? And you might notice that every now and then I'm looking down. It's because I'm holding an iPad. And so what I'm recording is my screen. You see me in a little camera below. So that's kind of like Google Meet. So the students get to see my face as I talk into a microphone, and I have my headphones and so forth. So there's no feedback. But I'm also recording the screen, and the screen that's being recorded is something that I can mark up with my iPad. So I wanted to record this video just to say hello, but also give you a sense as to how class actually operates. Okay. Before I do all of that, I just want to let you know that in addition to being a teacher, which is my faculty picture last year, even in addition to being a teacher, you see on the left, again, I'm also a father, and I'm a father of 2 girls. The older girl actually started virtual kindergarten this year. So lots of things have changed this year for your students. My little one, which is this beauty right there, she loves school, but it's sometimes a challenge because she doesn't want to be on the iPad all day. So I really want you to recognize that I try to design my lessons ultimately in a way that acknowledges how difficult this all is. So as a fellow parent, I want you to realize that we are in this together. So all of the students use Google Classroom, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and I communicate with you, and I've really enjoyed some conversations with you through Class Dojo. Last thing I could mention on this slide, at the very end of this video, I'm going to have my email address on the screen. Please recognize that if, for whatever reason, there is an absence, there is an appropriate Google form that you guys can submit, and I'm very happy to send that to you, so just email me. All right. So how does your child find the classroom? Well, they log into Google Classroom through the student portal at philasd.org. And you'll note I teach 6 different sections of science, and we alternate on odd days and even days. So I don't get to see my science students every single day, but I do see them every other day. And that poses some unique opportunities, but also some unique problems in that we don't get the kind of constant reinforcement. I meet in Google Meet. Google Meet is a place for us to connect. It's a place for us to be on camera. It's a place for us to build community. And I do have a standing rule that we have our cameras on and we mute ourselves so we don't kind of hear what's going on in the house and have kind of background noise. That said, not everyone feels comfortable having their camera on, and I perfectly understand that. But if you would, as a parent, and feel comfortable with this, encourage your student to have their camera on. One day we are going to return to a physical building, and it's going to be really odd, I feel, if we look around and we don't recognize our classmates that we've been with for however many weeks and months. So cameras on, mics muted, that's how we start our class in Google Meet. But we also use this website called hellosmart.com, which is actually what I'm using right now. So hellosmart.com is a way for me to draw on a screen and share that with them. So they have one window open with Google Meet and one window open with SLSO, which is a Smart Learning Suite online. Hellosmart.com is the website. So every day students join both sites and have two windows open, one to see me and one to see the lessons. If we think kind of broadly about this year, even though so much has changed, I really hope that we embrace, again, as a community, as a family. Okay? I'm really part of your family. You guys are part of my family. I want us to recognize the importance of feeling this identity, okay? That what we're doing, even virtually, is building relationships, that we are understanding of each other's perspectives, that we understand that even though this is virtual, this is still school, and we embrace a love of learning. And as all good scientists, we are determined to persevere whatever the obstacles in our experiences virtually. Okay? And again, because I want to have everything in my classroom relate back to the world at large, recognize that as your children are learning about science, that we understand how to kind of apply that to the community broadly. So some terms that you should know and feel comfortable with if you hear it being discussed by the administration or your child. Live instruction. Every single day we have live instruction that you log into. Right now we are using Google Meet. There are a number of benefits to Google Meet right now over Zoom, in part because there's compatibility issues with Zoom and Chromebooks. So Google Meet seems to be working pretty reasonably well right now, although I definitely recognize that there are some features of Zoom that are attractive. So every day, again, cameras on, because I want to make sure that they're there and awake and participating. But we meet every day in Google Meet for about an hour. Sometimes with half days, we're meeting for 45 minutes instead of an hour. But this is a time for us to collaborate with one another. Okay? During live instructions, you're not only able to communicate with me, but you're able to communicate live with your classmates. Okay, that's what I really encourage for students. We also have the opportunity for small breakout rooms. So that's especially important in science class, the ability not just to listen to the teacher, but to break out in small groups and discuss with one another a particular scientific concept. We'll be doing that more and more as time goes by. And of course, there's a flex time built into every schedule. Normally, right after live instruction, but sometimes on half days at the end of the day. Flex time is really student-directed and student-paced. Okay? It's a time where I could assign a video. It's a time where I could respond to questions in private meetings with students. It's a time where they can engage themselves in some kind of tutorial. But it's also a time in which students can simply walk away from the computer screen. So there's never a time in which I demand right after live instruction that your child completes an assignment in that 30-minute window. I give them that opportunity to start on an assignment, and should they finish, fantastic. But if they want to walk away, that's perfectly fine, and I understand that. I always try to give them a day or two to complete an assignment. As far as science over the year, what we've been doing, and I know my head is in the way of the bottom left of the screen, but what we've been doing so far in quarter one is looking at the characteristics of life and living organisms, what counts as being alive. Eighth grade science is really the life sciences, it's really biology. And so there's recent curricular change. So some aspects of physics and chemistry would have been part of their eighth grade life, but now everything is going to be biology. We will sneak in some chemistry and physics so that they don't miss out on that science knowledge, even with the curriculum change this year. But mostly now it's going to be the life sciences. So we start off with big questions about what is life, what's a cell, what's going on at the microscopic level. We zoom back out in quarter two and start thinking about other species, other kinds of organisms, life like plants. We talk about photosynthesis. We talk about the larger ecosystem that organisms are part of. And then we basically zoom back in quarter three and start talking about genetics and mutations. We talk about reproduction and heredity. And then we kind of zoom back out at the big picture of how we all came to be, how did life come to be. So we start talking about natural selection ultimately. So if you want to pause this video at any time, please feel free to do so you can see the wide-ranging topics, really exciting topics that we cover in eighth grade science. As far as expectations for your students, again, the I am Baldy thing that we covered is really, really important, especially in terms of perseverance and community. I expect students to attend, even though we're virtual, and that really does involve having your camera on, participating in the chat room, participating by unmuting your mic when I ask a question, or activities here on hellosmart.com. Flex work and homework can sometimes be related. Again, if you complete work during flex time, you could call it flex work, and some assignments I specifically call flex work. But you can also take work, quote unquote, home away from school and do it at a different time. Generally speaking, in terms of absences, if it's an excused absence, I completely understand, and you'll have the opportunity to make up work. Late work is frowned upon, but there might be a reason for the work to be late. Please feel free to let me know through Class Dojo if you anticipate some kind of issue with your child. Cheating and plagiarism, unacceptable. Okay, there are basically mechanisms through the school to deal with that. But in general, you're not going to get credit for cheating and plagiarized work. I think that makes sense. As far as supplies go, I haven't said much about that in terms of the year, in part because I'm relying on the fact that, well, we're virtual right now, and things can be done through something like a Google form. So in Google Classroom, your child can log in, they can type directly into a Google form and send it, and so there's no need to buy any kind of special binders or supplies right now. That's going to change when we do one day go in person. There will be a kind of supply list, but there's no reason to purchase it now or worry about it. So I didn't want anyone to go to any expense. But if your child does have something like a notebook to take notes while listening to lecture, while engaging in activities, I think that's a great idea. But if they want, they can also have another window open to type into a Google Doc or Word or something along those lines. Right? Again, this absence form, even though it's virtual, if a child is marked absent, you want to get that excused, and there is an official form for that. And we'll, again, my email will be on the last slide, which is right here. So lots of emails. Again, if you want to pause here, you can check out these emails. I'm this one right here. Right? So see Ramey at philasd.org. Any questions you have, just want to introduce yourself to me. If you want to schedule some kind of meeting or exchange, we can absolutely do so. There will be a time, obviously, in the future for parent-teacher conferences, but you don't have to wait until then. I'm very receptive to communication. So if you have any questions, let's go back one slide. Ramey at philasd.org. So again, my name is Dr. Ramey. A bit of a whirlwind tour of some things going on in 8th grade and how the classroom works. I hope that I made sense. It'll be difficult for me to edit this. So it was a pleasure, quote unquote, seeing you. I hope, again, it was fun for you as well and informative. So thanks, everyone, and I look forward to communicating with you. I look forward to seeing your child in Google Meet, nice and early in the morning. If you have an early morning class, make sure to have those cameras on. I really, really want to see your kids in class. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.